In this video, I'm gonna walk you through how to create this cute pumpkin shape drawstring pouch. It's a great item to serve as a little gift wrapped for some sweets for your kids, or even for adults, which, you know, a lot of adults like candy as well. It can also be used as a decorative item for your house in the fall season. It's a beginner-friendly project. I think it's a great project to have your kids craft with you if they are interested in learning how to sew. This pattern is available in my Etsy store. The link to the pattern is in the description box below. This pattern will be available at a discount for a week from the premiere of this video. To get the discount code, please join my Facebook group, and the code will be available to all Facebook group members. The full supply list to complete the project is posted in the Etsy listing, so you can just review the list and make sure you have everything to complete the project. This is not a very supply demanding project, so I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to create many of those pouches out of your scrap pile. If you like my video tutorials and you would like me to create more, please make sure to give the video a like and to subscribe to my channel. And right now, if you would like to see me creating this orange version of the pouch, keep watching. Let's get started. To begin our project, we will need to cut all our pattern pieces as provided on the pattern pieces templates. So you will have 2 outer panels, 2 lining panels, 2 interfacing for our outer panels cut out of fusible fleece, 2 panels for our drawstrings panels, a piece of green fabric for our leaf interfacing in the shape of a leaf, and our small panel for the stem. To begin our project, we're gonna start with interfacing our panels. So you need a pressing mat. Take one of the outer panels and fuse the fusible fleece on the back side of the fabric. Make sure it's pretty centered, and I like to start from the fusible fleece side first, making sure that my glue it's facing the wrong side of my fabric. So I'm just gonna lightly press it to make sure it stays in place. And I'm gonna finish up the process on the right side of the fabric. I find that fusible fleece interfacing can give you a little bit wrinkling on the right side of your fabric, but you can avoid that by not using the steam setting on your iron. I feel like that usually works best and helps with the wrinkling effect. Now that you have the interfacing attached to both outer panels, you're going to use the pattern piece to transfer our applique on our pumpkin. So you can just use the template and some kind of marking tool and mark the beginning of the quilting lines on top first. And then move to doing the same on the bottom. And I know that this one goes in the middle. So I'm just gonna use those start and end points to quilt my pumpkin panel, but you can connect those with the erasable pen if you find that easier to work with. I'm fine with just you know, starting with that point and making sure I end here with the straight stitch. So that's something to keep in mind, and just do whatever you feel comfortable with. So we're gonna repeat that on the second panel, and when we have both our panels marked, we're gonna quilt the front of our pouch. For the quilting stitch, you're just gonna use regular straight stitch with the 3.5 stitch length. Both my panels are quilted on the front, so that's done, and we can put it aside for now while we are prepping our top drawstring panels. To do that, we would need an iron. We're gonna fold the short edges of the drawstring panels by 1/4 of an inch twice over, and press that in place. Repeat that on the other side and on the other drawstring panel. When you have that prepped and your iron is hot, you can also attach the leaf interfacing to your panel. So the pattern piece will have the measurement for the leaf panel, so you can cut 2 of those, or just cut it on a fold and just have one larger panel that doesn't change anything, and both ways will work just fine. You're gonna interface it to the wrong side of the fabric, and the leaf is in the middle, but the stem of the leaf is on the bottom of the one of the short edges. Now when you have your panels prepped, you're gonna take it to the machine, and you're gonna top stitch along those short edges of the drawstring panels with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch length. On the leaf panel, you're gonna use 2.5 stitch length. You're gonna run a seam just outside of the interfacing, so you're gonna be sewing just along the edge of the interfacing all around, leaving the bottom part unsewn. So now that the short sides of the drawstring panels are top stitch, we can put both of them aside, and we're gonna be finishing our leaf. To do that, we're gonna cut the excess seam allowance. I try to leave 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and using pinking shears around the curves helps with the leaf retaining a nice curved shape. And if you were not using pinking shears to trim the seam allowances all around, you would just snip the curved parts with your fabric shears around both curved sides. Just make sure you're not gonna snip any stitches. So now that we have the leaf prepped like this, we're gonna turn it around, and the best way to do that is to push the point of the leaf through the opening. So you can use some poking tool, make sure that it's not too sharp so you're not gonna damage your fabric, and push it so far so you can reach it. When you grab the right side of the point, you can just pull the rest of the fabric through. Here you go. So now we want to make sure that our edges are nicely rolled, and Like that, I have my little leaf. So because turning the leaf right side out wrinkled my fabric, I'm gonna press it to give it a nice sharp look. Your leaf is now ready to go. You can add additional embellishment to your leaf with just a freehand quilting of the leaf veins on top of it. This is totally optional, and if you're more comfortable with tracing something on and then following it with your machine, that's totally fine. Just make sure you're using a erasable marker. I'm just gonna freehand the design wherever my machine takes me. That's how it's gonna be. I feel like nature is not perfect, so whatever we're gonna end up with will be just great. I just want to show you up close what I did. So I quilted the leaf veins on top of my leaf. What I do, I just start from the stem, I go all the way here, coming back, making a first one, going further, second, and so on. And this is how it looks like, and it's pretty easy, and like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. It looks great the way it is. So after our leaf is ready, the last thing left to do is to work on our pumpkin stem. To do that, we would need to iron our stem panel. We just gonna do the twice over fold. So you're gonna fold it in half and press, then fold each side up to the middle crease. And fold it again to hide the raw edges inside. After your panel is pressed, you're gonna take it to the machine and top stitch along those two long edges with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. So our stem is top stitch and ready to go. Now we just have to fold our drawstring panels in half and press. And when we have all our elements ready, we can move on to assembling of our drawstring pouch. So you're gonna take one of the outside panels, whatever you think looks better and whatever you think it's gonna be the front of your pouch, and you're gonna start with placing your leaf. I like to place it a little under an angle, so it should be just right about where the midpoint of the panel is. So place that and secure that placement with a pin. Then you're gonna take one of the drawstring panels and you're gonna center it on the top edge of the pouch. You can now secure that with pins or clips. And when you have that secure, you're gonna take your stem and you're gonna place it in the middle with a 1/4 of an inch overlap. You just want to make sure that it's gonna show when your drawstring panel is up, so you want to make sure that that end will show, and you want it to be centered. So we have that panel prepped. Now we're gonna take our second outside panel and we have to center the drawstring panel on the top edge of our outer panel. And when you have both panels prepped like this, you're gonna take them to the machine and you're gonna sew along the drawstring panels with the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch length. Now that your outer panels are prepped, you can trim the axis of the leaf panel and the stem. And now we can attach our lining panels. So you want to make sure that your lining panels and your outer panels are right sides together, and you can secure them along the top edge with clips. Repeat that with the second panel. And now you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna sew along the top edge on both panels with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch length. Now that your lining is attached to the panels, you're gonna open the units. You can finger press it or you can press it with your iron. You're gonna make sure that both of them are open. And when you have them pressed like this, you're gonna take it to the machine and top stitch along the drawstring panels, so only where the panels begin and ends. And you wanna top stitch having the stem in an up position but the leaf in a down position. So you're gonna be top stitching through the leaf, and on the back panel obviously it's easier, so you're just gonna top stitch along the drawstring panel on the main panel side. So you're gonna use 3.5 stitch length and 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now that we have the units top stitch on top, we have to do one more thing before we can finish up assembling our pouch. It's to complete our darts. So you just want to fold the darts along the cut, secure that with clips. Repeat that on all 4 panels. When you have all your darts folded and clipped, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna sew along the cut with the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch length. And you want to make sure that you back stitch on the beginning and end of your seam. So make sure your darts are your panels are folded right sides together, so you're gonna be sewing on the wrong side of the fabric, and you're gonna be creating the darts on the outside and on the lining panels. Now that our darts are sewn, they're gonna create this rounded shape of the pouch. So we can now start a final assembly of our pouch. You're gonna put your outer panels right sides together and your lining right sides together. You wanna make sure that the top seam aligns nicely and secure that with clip. Do the same thing on the other side. Make sure your top seam aligns. And you can continue clipping all around your project. So when you have everything clipped all around, we're gonna mark around a 3-inch opening in the bottom of our lining to remain unsewn. I like to mark it with pins, so I know I'm not gonna just forget to leave it open. And when you have your panel prepped like this with your turning opening marked in the bottom of the lining, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna sew all around the project except the turning opening with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch length. Make sure that you're not gonna catch your drawstring panels in your seam, because you're gonna close them and then they're not gonna be able to serve their purpose. So take it to the machine, keep your drawstring panels in mind, and just sew all around the project. So my project is sew all around. Just a reminder to make sure to backstitch well when the turning opening is, and you can also increase the seam allowances in the lining a little bit if that's something you like to do. I do, so I did that. Now we're gonna trim our seam allowances with pinking shears. This is really useful for rounded projects. Usually the seam allowances lie better when they are trimmed with the pinking shears. I'm not gonna trim the part where the turning opening is. I want to have a nice amount of fabric to close my lining. All right, so when I have my seam allowances trimmed, I'm gonna turn the project right side out. Inspect your project. I think mine is looking pretty cute, so I'm happy with the way it looked. Now we have to work on closing our lining. So you want to pull the lining out of your bag and pull on the ends of the seam. That usually helps with the raw edges folding inside. Try to keep a little rounded edge, but it's going to be inside of your bag, so this is not that important. It's not going to be visible, so you can secure that with clips. And you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna top stitch along the opening with 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch length. After my lining is completed, I place it inside of my pouch, and the last thing to do is to thread our ribbon through our drawstring panels. To do that, I'm using a 1/4 inch polyester ribbon that I cut so it's long enough to run through both panels back and forth, and has around 3 inches overhang on each end. So you can use any ribbon you have as long as it fits through your drawstring channels. You can even use a cord, just whatever you have on hand. So I'm gonna melt the ends of my ribbon. Since it's polyester, I can just use my lighter. And using the threading tool, I'm gonna thread it through my drawstring channels. You want to have one ribbon going this way and the other one opposite way. So now that we have our ribbon threaded, you're gonna make sure the both ends are the same length and just tie a knot. And now you can close your pouch, pulling on the drawstrings. And just like that, your pouch is completed. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. If you did, please make sure to give the video a like and to subscribe to my channel. If you decide to give the project a go, please make sure to share the results with me on my social media. The links to my Facebook group and to my Instagram accounts are in the description box below. Till the next time.